Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia reintroduced the House version of the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act yesterday, and Senator Elizabeth Warren introduced its companion bill in the U.S. Senate. The congressman joins us now to talk more about the bill. Congressman, this is the third time you've introduced this bill. It failed to become law in the last two Congresses, where Democrats controlled both the House and the Senate. What do you think, year after year, why do you think year after year that this bill has just failed to gain traction?
Well, I know in the Senate, a big problem with the filibuster, 60 votes needed to bring a matter to the floor, and that's a problem. And in the House, we still have many people who are not ready to go against the gun lobby yet, which has resulted in a culture of proliferation of firearms in this country that the people are weary of. And so, you know, you just pointed out the fact that students, 60+% of students would feel safer if we had stricter gun laws. And that's not confined to just students. I think most Americans would agree that we are much too promiscuous with guns in this country, with the spread or proliferation of guns in the country, and something needs to be done to stop it. And that's why I'm proud to have introduced the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act along with Senator Warren.
Congressman, do you acknowledge, though, the tide seems to be against you in Congress? Yesterday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer attempted to pass the assault weapons ban by unanimous consent in the Senate, but that failed after a single Republican senator objected. Is the momentum right now simply against gun control in Congress?
Well, I think the American people are clear of what they want. We have elections coming up, and this can be a litmus test for people who are standing for political office. The people who are the voters need to know where the candidates stand on ending this mass violence in America by trying to get a grip on it, by at least bringing some common sense gun control measures to the floor of the Senate and the House, passing them and sending them to the president for his signature. I believe that there's work that is taking place, and I think more work needs to be done. I think momentum is starting to shift. But again, we have archaic rules in the Senate that need to be changed, and we don't have a majority of in the House of Representatives of people who are looking to do gun reform and gun control. And so this next election is important. President Biden stands with us in wanting to do something about the proliferation of guns, particularly the banning of military-style assault weapons, which is legislation that he actually passed back in 1994. It had a 10-year sunset on it, and so it expired in 2004. And look where we are as a result of the expiration of that assault weapons ban legislation. We need to take that legislation up. That's a part of the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act, which we filed yesterday, which happened to be the day of another mass shooting at a school, this time a university, college students. But all students need to be able to go to school and not fear that they will not be able to return because they've been targeted by a shooter, because they are a soft target.
Congressman, I want to change topics here briefly to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. You're on the House Judiciary Committee. Yesterday, you were one of only 2 members on that entire committee to vote against advancing a bill that extends reforms and in some cases limits the government's ability to conduct warrantless searches on American citizens online. Why did you vote against FISA reform?
Well, I believe that a warrant requirement for law enforcement to look into the 702 database and all of that information in the 702 database is lawfully acquired. But to require a warrant when we're talking about foreign citizens who are dealing with Americans, many of whom are not, there's no thought that those Americans are involved in criminal activity, but their safety and security may be at risk. And so to have to get a probable cause warrant from a judge in order to access that database to simply warn Americans of some threat that they might face, I think neuters the ability of the database and Section 702 to actually provide security for Americans. And that's why I voted against the bill. I'm looking forward to legislation that is a little more in the interest of national security, as that has some protections, of course, of the right to privacy. But this right to privacy and the right to security are two rights that need to live in harmony with each other. If we have a right to privacy, but our security is threatened, then that right to privacy is not as important to us as it needs to be.
Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia, thanks for your time.